Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 8 college basketball Power 40 rankings. So in this video, we'll go through the entire 40 teams I have selected, where they rank, how they fare from where they were at last week, what they did this week, maybe look a little bit ahead to next week's games. But yeah, just go team by team, give a quick little rundown of how I'm feeling on each team. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. Trying to hit 200 subs here relatively soon. Probably not by Christmas, but it'd be a nice little late Christmas present, I guess, if we could hit that. Not only do we have college basketball content, we have college football on Tuesdays, NFL on Wednesdays, NBA on Thursdays, as well as MLB content when that season is going. I apologize for a little bit of the low energy. I'm a little sick, but I wanted to make sure I got the video out. Stay true to our schedule. Anyways, let's go ahead and get right into the top 40, and starting off with number 40, it's going to be Arizona State. I kept them in the field. You could argue they may drop out, but they didn't really do anything to make me feel like the need to drop them out. I mean, they only had one game this week. They took care of business and won that game pretty easily. So yeah, Arizona State going to stay here in the rankings. Number 39, Ohio State, my team, moving up 2 spots. And Ohio State not only had a great week in football, they had a great week in basketball. They took down Kentucky by 20 points in the CBS Sports Classic. I mean, it was just total domination. And heading into Big Ten play, I was starting to worry a little bit about the Buckeyes. I'm feeling a lot more confident now, though. They're at 8-4 right now. So obviously, I'm not going to rank them too high, but I did want to get them back into the Power 40. I think as of right now, they deserve it. They're ranked 29th in KenPom as well, pretty high, higher than I would have thought. Number 38, I have Missouri moving down after losing to Illinois in what was technically a neutral site, but it was essentially a home game. Actually, it might have been a home game. I'm not sure. I thought it was a neutral site game. Either way, the game was in Missouri, and it was a very tight game all the way through. But Illinois in the second half kind of had the lead for the most, in the majority of the game. Like I said, it was tight. It was a very entertaining game. But Illinois did come out on top, so I did have to drop Missouri. But Missouri's still a very solid resume, 10-2. They have a win over Kansas. They have, taking care of business. Their only losses are to Memphis and Illinois. So I'm still pretty confident in Missouri. They just do have to drop a little after that loss. Wisconsin moving down 6. This isn't really because Wisconsin did anything wrong, but you look at the resume. I mean, the Michigan loss looks worse now than it did last week. Their only other losses are to Marquette and Illinois, which aren't terrible losses whatsoever. But you look at their wins. The Pitt win is still okay, I guess. But their other big win, I guess you could say, Arizona, doesn't look great. I mean, their resume this is kind of a re-ranking, not necessarily. They didn't do anything to drop 6 spots last week. This is kind of just, I had them a little bit higher. Some teams I felt deserved to jump them, so they did take quite the tumble here. In terms of KenPom, I'm interested to see what they're at. They're at 33 right now, 15th in offense, but 79th in defense. Wisconsin just kind of reorganizing these rankings. Do this every once in a while. I think Wisconsin was a little bit too high last week. Number 36 is going to be Clemson. When looking at Clemson, they're just ahead of Wisconsin in terms of KenPom, and Clemson did, I guess, do something to deserve this fall. They lose to South Carolina, and then they did finish out the week with a win over Wake Forest, which I thought was a solid win. But again, you look at this Clemson resume. Besides the Kentucky win, they don't really have a good win. I mean, Penn State's not a bad win, but they have a bad loss to Boise State. They have a loss to Memphis and a not great loss to South Carolina. Close kind of struggle game against Miami, who's looking terrible. I mean, they did win by 10. I don't know. Clemson's one of these teams. Clemson and Wisconsin. I'm kind of confused how good they really are. I mean, Chase Hunter for Clemson has been very solid. He's averaging almost 17 a game. I don't know. I need to see some more, but as of right now, I think this is fair. Number 35. Welcome to the rankings, the Drake Bulldogs. This might be the first time they've ever been in a Power 40 rankings. Good for them. They're deserving of it. They're 11-0 this week. They beat Kansas State. Now I was waiting for this game because I wanted to rake Drake the past couple weeks. They were one of the few undefeateds left, and now it's not like they have very many wins. I mean, they have a win over FAU, a win over Vanderbilt. That is an SEC team. They have a win over Miami. Now Miami doesn't look great, but still Power 5 team. They just beat Kansas State in overtime. They looked pretty solid in doing so. They won 73-70. Now, I think Drake is deserving of being in the Power 40. They're one of the 4 undefeated teams left. So at this point, Drake at 35. Don't feel too bad about this one at all. Drake not ranked terrible in KenPom. I mean, they're at 78. Obviously, that's much lower than the rest of these teams here. But that is expected just because of the conference they play in. But hey, Drake undefeated. You're getting some credit. You're getting some love over here. Number 34 is going to be UNC. Now, there's a positive and a negative. They took another loss this week. They lose by 6 to Florida. Although I will say they came back in that one. There was a chance. I thought they were going to win that game with the way the momentum was going. Florida does hang on. But then UNC rebounds, wins against UCLA by 2 in the CBS Sports Classics. 2 huge wins here for UNC and Ohio State, teams that were kind of teetering on, are they going to get into the tournament when it's all said and done? 2 teams that really needed a win, and they got it. UNC is 7-5, which doesn't look great, and I still worry about this rebounding. I mean, their highest rebounder right now is Seth Trimble, who is 6'3", and he's averaging less than 5 rebounds a game. So that still doesn't make me feel great. But I've been saying this. UNC just don't have big men. I think if you're UNC, you just gotta go. You gotta play fast, score a lot of points. We'll see if they make that adjustment. They did just go out and beat UCLA, who is one of the best defenses in the country. I thought there was a better chance UNC would beat Florida than UCLA just based off matchup. But what do I know? The exact opposite happened. But UNC definitely, going to stay in this kind of area after splitting the week. Although I will give them against 2 good teams. I think if you're UNC, you take a split there all day. Number 33, West Virginia, just going to continue to sit in here. I feel like they've been ranked 33 for the past 5 weeks. I mean, they're just beating these bad teams. They're taking care of business. They're at 9-2 now. Not tomorrow. This is next week. They do got a game against Kansas coming up, so they're going to have a chance to either move way up these rankings or move down these rankings. And that's kind of what we're going to see with a lot of these teams starting conference play here soon. Number 32, same thing with Pitt. Pitt's been here for what feels like forever. I mean, they have some decent wins. They have some not terrible losses either. They have a win over West Virginia. That's why they're ahead. They have a win over LSU, a win over Ohio State, which looks better now. They do have a blowout loss against Mississippi State. They do have a loss against Wisconsin. I don't know. Pitt seems pretty up and down, kind of inconsistent. We'll see if they can, kind of level out. But they're ranked 25th in KenPom, 10-2 on the season so far, 19th in offense, 38th in defense. So, Pitt, definitely not a bad team. I think 32 is fair at this point. Number 31 is going to be Michigan. Now, Michigan did go out and lose this past week, so that's why they are dropping these 4 spots. Michigan went out and lost to Oklahoma in a game where they were winning. I believe they were winning for the majority of the second half. Then with about 5 minutes left in the game, Oklahoma takes the lead, and Michigan just they were right there the whole time. Oklahoma made a couple big shots down the wire. I mean, you can credit this to Jeremiah Fears on Oklahoma. We'll talk about Oklahoma in a little bit. But Michigan does take a 1-point loss to an undefeated Oklahoma team. Michigan definitely not, you look at their losses. They have a 2-point loss to Arkansas, a 1-point loss to Oklahoma, and a 2-point loss to Wake Forest. That's their only losses. Their losses is by combined 5 points. So Michigan has been in a lot of close games. They also have wins over Wisconsin. They have one over Xavier. You know, I mean, Michigan definitely. Some of their wins are looking a little worse now than they did. So I wouldn't be opposed to Michigan. Maybe needing to go out and win another game here to jump them back up because I feel like they're trending in the wrong direction as of right now. But they did get a nice rebound win against Purdue Fort Wayne there on Sunday. You look at KenPom, they're still ranked 22nd, so not terrible there. 30th in offense, 22nd in defense, but yeah, they do have to move down after dropping that one. Number 30 is going to be St. John's. You look at St. John's, they're one of the highest teams in terms of KenPom. KenPom loves St. John's. They're ranked 12th in KenPom, 29th in offense, 13th in defense. This one, St. John's didn't do much really this week to kind of jump them up this high. This was more just me, I put them back into the Power 40. Usually when I do that, I don't, jump them all the way up. Like if there's a team outside of the Power 40, the highest I'll go is like 31 for their first weekend, unless they have some crazy week. So with St. John's, I put them at 37. Now I'm putting them up to 30. They are 10-2. Their only losses are to Baylor in double overtime and Georgia by 3 points. Speaking of Georgia, Georgia is going to be moving in at 29. They are right ahead of St. John's because they did beat St. John's. Now they're a little bit lower in KenPom, but trying to respect the head-to-head here. But with Georgia, they're also 11-1, so they have the better record. Their only loss is to Marquette, and like I said, they did beat St. John's. So Georgia, another one of these SEC teams that have kind of come out of nowhere, but they are doing great right now. We'll see if they can continue that when SEC play starts. Number 28 is going to be Memphis. They fall down 8 spots because they were one of these teams that dropped a game last week. They didn't look great against Mississippi State. I believe this was a home game for Memphis, and they got blown out. There was a point in this game where Mississippi State was up 20. They were up 20 for a lot of the second half. They got up to a 24-point lead, I believe, at one point. But yeah, Mississippi State just blew the brakes off of Memphis. It finished as a 13-point win. You watched that game, it definitely felt like it should have been more than that. Mississippi State just demolished them. Memphis suffers their third loss. I will say, though, if you're a Memphis fan, definitely a successful, non-conference. They got wins over Missouri, over UConn, over Michigan State, over Clemson, over Virginia. And they're going to have a chance to cap it off with a win over Ole Miss on Saturday. We'll see if they can get that one. They do have that bad loss to Arkansas State. That's definitely going to hurt them. But their only other losses are to Auburn, who's arguably looking like the best team in the country, and, of course, the Mississippi State game that just happened. But with Memphis, I'm not too worried. Tyrese Hunter looks great. P.J. Haggerty looks really good as well. He's averaging 23 a game. They also have Dane Danger. This is a really good team. I wouldn't want to play Memphis in the tournament. I do expect them to be a tournament team. So yeah, Memphis, I'm still in on the Tigers. Just definitely, have to fall a little. Dayton at 27. They went out and lost to Cincinnati by 7 in the big rivalry game. But kind of same thing. These two teams feel very similar to me. Two teams not inside the Power 5, but picking up huge non-conference wins. Dayton has a win over UConn. Only losses to UNC, Iowa State, and of course the game they just lost against Cincinnati. But they also have a win over Marquette. You look at Dayton. It's kind of what team are you going to get with them? I don't know. They're ranked 32nd in KenPom. So, not too bad there. 18th in offense. The defense is, kind of lacking a little bit. Hopefully they can get it together. They're also ahead of Memphis in KenPom. I did have Memphis ranked one spot ahead of Dayton last week. I switched that around just because Dayton's ahead in KenPom. I think Dayton, as of right now, very similar resumes, but Memphis definitely has the worst loss of the two. So I don't know. I gave the edge to Dayton, but that's just kind of nitpicky. If you're gonna get upset about that, if we're being honest. 26 is Maryland. The numbers really like Maryland. You look at their KenPom rating; they're all the way up at 11th, and that's credit to their defense, which is ranked 6th in the country right now. The offense has also climbed. I believe the offense was way lower, if I'm not mistaken, a couple weeks ago. They're all the way up at 35 now. This Maryland team looks really good, and I did not expect this coming into the season. They have, a very close loss to Purdue. They have a blowout win over Ohio State. Very close loss to Marquette. I mean, the Maryland looks like a very dangerous team, and teams that are this good defensively, you don't want to see in the tournament. So Maryland, just outside the top 25 as of right now. Number 25 is going to be Arkansas. They're just going to move up one spot. Teams dropping out of the rankings, they by virtue of that get in. I mean, they're taking care of business. They're doing their thing. So Arkansas at 25, not much to talk about there. 24th, Baylor. Again, just kind of moving up. They didn't really do much this week. Took care of business. They will move up to 24. Same thing with Illinois. Although Illinois did pick up a pretty good win here against Missouri this past week. That was definitely impressive. It was essentially a road game there. It was played in Missouri. Illinois at 8-3 right now. Kasparis Yakichonis looks like one of the best freshmen in the country. Good for Illinois for finding that guy. Illinois definitely looking like a dangerous team. I got them at 23. San Diego State moving up one as well. They're taking care of business. They're doing their thing over there in the Mountain West. They're at 8-2. They got a huge game. People, I haven't heard anything about this game. Saturday they play Utah State, who was formerly undefeated. They did just lose, but they're 11-1. Whoever wins that game is probably going to be ranked in the top 25 next week. I mean, I think that's fair to say. I think San Diego State gets it at home, which is huge. Yeah, they get it at home, so that is a huge advantage. That'll be a very fun game there Saturday night. Definitely want to keep my eyes peeled for that one. Purdue continues to slide down the rankings. They continue to fall. They suffer another loss. They're at 8-4 right now. They got blown out by Auburn. I thought there was a chance they may keep it close, but at this point, Purdue's lost 3 of their last 4. They have a win over Alabama still. They have a win over Ole Miss. They have a win over Maryland, so still some solid wins. But, I mean, if you're a Purdue fan, this is not what you want to see. I mean, you expected them to take a bit of a step back with no more Zach Edey. But I don't know. I mean, Braden Smith's doing his thing. Trey Kaufman-Wren's averaging 18 a game. Fletcher Loyer's still there. Purdue, I don't think is a bad team. I just think it's a bit of a shock after how dominant they've been in the Big Ten the past couple of years, and we'll see. They can get there's a chance they continue that in the Big Ten this year because Big Ten play is yet to begin. But I mean, I don't know. 4 losses in the non-conference. The defense has definitely taken a toll since Zach Edey has left. The offense is still really good though. But yeah, Purdue, they gotta get some wins here soon. UCLA, kind of the opposite. The defense is great for UCLA. The offense is kind of what's holding them back. But they're ranked 16th in KenPom, so very high there. But UCLA did just lose by 2 against North Carolina. I didn't drop them too much, just because I think I may have had them a little bit too low last week. This week they play Gonzaga in a game that is a neutral site, but I believe it's, actually no, it is in California. This should be a fun game. We'll see kind of offense versus defense there. We'll see who comes out on top. If UCLA goes out there and wins that game, UCLA is probably going to be ranked inside the top 15, maybe even higher. But yeah, UCLA looks really good, especially that defense. 19, I have Cincinnati. They picked up a pretty big win here against Dayton. This was a team that I was saying, oh, they don't have a good win. I mean, it was true. They didn't have a good win. They had a win over Xavier. But Xavier, I don't really know if I can classify that as a good win. I mean, Xavier is 8-5. That's not terrible, but that's not great either. But they went into Dayton, got the win, so they're good on them. The number's still very high in Cincinnati. They're ranked 21st in KenPom, number 5 in defense. I didn't realize they were that high on defense. Maybe I gotta tune into more Bearcats games, but yeah, Cincinnati moving up a couple spots after that win over Dayton. Number 28, Mississippi State. I believe they are the highest climber this past week. Mississippi State, same thing with Cincinnati. I was saying, oh, they don't really have that impressive of a win on their resume. I mean, they had beaten Pitt, but they also have that Butler loss, which doesn't look great. They went out and blew out Memphis on the road. I watched that whole game. They looked like a very good team, so I was sleeping on Mississippi State. Josh Hubbard is a guy. He's averaging 18 points a game. Mississippi State as a team is ranked 19th in KenPom, 17th in offense, 34th in defense. Very well-rounded team there. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Mississippi State. I got them up at 18. Like I said, highest climber of the week, at least I believe. Ole Miss going to stay here at 17, right ahead of their rivals. Ole Miss fans are going to love that. But yeah, Ole Miss just didn't really do much this week. Not much to change with them, so just kind of staying put where they're at. 11-1, very good team. Only losses to Purdue. Houston, I said this last week, I probably needed to move Houston down because with all these teams, I've been saying, they don't have a good win. You can say the same thing for Houston. I mean, you look at Houston's schedule. I'll look at it right now. Their best win is Notre Dame. Best win is maybe Butler. I mean, those are the only two teams they've played. And neither of those teams are good. Now, I understand they have a 5-point loss to Auburn, a 5-point loss to Alabama. Both those teams are top 5 in the country. And a 3-point loss to San Diego State in overtime, who's also a top 25 team. So you can look at the losses, but it gets to a point where you got to, start getting some wins over some good teams. I understand they're still ranked 4th in KenPom, 11th in offense, 3rd in defense, which is extremely high. But, yeah, it gets to a point. Starting to look at resume a little bit more here. Now, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to get wins in the Big 12, but, just some food for thought. Michigan State at 15. They're very solid defensively. The offense, I believe, is coming around. They're looking a little bit better. Yeah, with Michigan State, I mean, took care of business this week. They're going to continue to stay in this top 15 range. I think the AP poll is sleeping on them a little bit. They have a very good resume. Oklahoma, moving up 4 spots. They get a huge win over Michigan in a game where I thought there was a chance they could lose. I mean, I've been saying this. Kind of the Cincinnati, Mississippi State, Houston thing. They didn't have a good win before this. Their best one was probably Arizona or Louisville. Neither of those teams were in my Power 40. But they went out, beat Michigan this past week, come from behind win. Shout out to Jeremiah Fierce. He is just insane. He's averaging 18 points a game. They also got a guy, Jalen Moore. He's averaging 17. All this talk about Jeremiah Fierce, he's having a great season as well. Yeah, the Sooners look very solid. They are still undefeated, one of the 4 left, so I got to give them props. They got to move up quite a bit. They are a little bit lower in KenPom, so that's kind of why I have them behind some of these teams. But I thought about moving them up as high as 11, but I did keep these teams ahead of them. Gonzaga is one of those teams. I mean, they just have so many more wins. They have so many more games that I've seen from them. Yeah, 9-3. They're gonna have a chance to get another pretty solid win against UCLA. If they get that, there's a good chance they move up. If they can, round out the defense, it's not even that bad. They're ranked 24th in defense. They're also ranked 3rd in offense. And Grant Ike has kind of been not, what you want to see from him. I do expect him to get better, but the fact that their offense is that good and Ike has been struggling a little bit, that's definitely scary. Number 12, I have UConn. UConn right ahead of them. UConn does have the win over Gonzaga. With UConn, they're kind of the same thing with the Gonzaga, except way more extreme. Their offense is is just narrowly ahead of Gonzaga. They're ranked second in offense. Their defense, 98th. I mean, nearly outside of the top 100. I mean, that is just terrible. I'm scrolling down the KenPom list. I'm trying to find the next closest team that doesn't have a top 100 offense or defense. It's VCU all the way down at 46 at 110 in offense. So there is the top 45 of the top 45 teams. UConn is the only team that is even remotely close to being outside of the top 100 in offense and defense. So that's definitely concerning. Um, will UConn be fine? I mean, I don't know. They didn't look great to start out the year. They've kind of bounced back recently, though. Picked up some pretty big wins. This past week, they didn't really do much. I mean, they got an overtime win over Xavier and a 4-point win over Butler. Little concerning there in Big East play. Those two teams aren't all that great. I mean, Xavier's not terrible. I guess Butler isn't terrible either. I don't know, though. What I really want to see, which we're not going to see till February 1st, unfortunate, but I really want to see UConn play Marquette. But yeah, we are going to have to wait quite a while for that. But yeah, UConn staying put at 12. Number 11 is going to be A&M. I feel like I group A&M, UConn, and Gonzaga kind of in the same boat. The difference with A&M is, A&M at 10-2, they have one less loss than both these teams. The difference with A&M, the other difference, they're more of a defensive team than an offensive team. I mean, UConn and Gonzaga both posting top 3 offenses. A&M is ranked 7th in defense, just outside the top 40 in offense. But A&M recently has been kind of on a tear in the month of December. They've taken down Wake Forest, Texas Tech, Purdue. They took care of business last week against Houston Christian. Yeah, we'll see how they fare in the SEC. I mean, I've been saying this. The SEC is just ridiculous. I mean, just look on the screen alone. You have Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas. I mean, we're going to see a whole lot more in the top 10, and I guarantee you there was plenty in 26 through 40. So, yeah, the SEC just ridiculous. I mean, they might break the record for tournament teams this year. Speaking of the SEC, number 10, it's going to be Kentucky. They moved down quite a bit. You look at Kentucky, their resume actually isn't all that crazy, which is kind of crazy to say. They have a win over Duke. They have a win over Gonzaga, but they have a loss to Clemson and Ohio State. So, I mean, I understand both those losses aren't terrible. They could be much worse. Memphis lost to Arkansas State. But, I mean, yes, both those teams are Power 40 teams in my eyes at least. But, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of lacking in terms of resume in comparison to the other top 10 teams. But I will give credit to Mark Pope. He's done a great job. Very interested to see how they fare in SEC play when that league gets up and running. Oregon's going to be at 9. They continue to move up. I mean, they're just one of the surprise teams of this year. I mean, they're ranked 14th in KenPom, 20th in offense, 25th in defense. They're very well-rounded. Their only loss is to UCLA by 2 points. They have wins over A&M, San Diego State, Alabama. That is a great resume there. Number 8, Marquette, going to move up one spot. A lot of these teams in the top 10 didn't really have very intriguing games this week. Marquette almost lost to Xavier. I guess that's somewhat intriguing. They also kind of struggled with Butler and Xavier, so maybe Butler and Xavier are better than I'm giving them credit for because both Marquette and UConn struggled with both of them. Yeah, Marquette, coming off that loss to Dayton last week, they bounced back with 2 very solid Big East wins. Yeah, we'll see what they can do. Cam Jones doing his thing over there. He's been amazing for them. Kansas staying put where they're at. One of the few teams in the top 10 not moving up. They beat Brown. Brown, I believe, just beat an undefeated Rhode Island team last week. Yeah, that is correct. But yeah, Kansas took care of business there. I didn't expect Brown to win that game. Just something I saw. Number 6, Florida. Florida is one of the maybe the only team that played. Well, there's one more. But Florida is one of the few top 10 teams that actually played a meaningful game this week. They went out and beat UNC in a game that I thought UNC really needed. I thought there was a good chance UNC would win that game. Florida moves to 12-0. Like I said, they're one of the 4 undefeated teams left. Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, Alex Condon, Will Richard. They got a squad. They continue to roll. Florida, in my opinion, is very much a contender for the SEC. Does the SEC have 5 teams in the top 10? I think they do. Number 5 is going to be another SEC team. It's going to be Alabama. They take care of business this past week. Right now in KenPom, they are ranked at 9, 7th in offense, 43rd in defense. Mark Sears continues to play well. Grant Nelson. This is just a loaded team. We knew this coming in to the year, though. Number 4 is going to be Duke. Again, moving up one spot. They took care of business this week. The defense ranked number 1 in the country right now. Their defense is just amazing. And the offense just outside the top 10 as well. Duke's looking very strong. They're ranked 2nd overall in KenPom. Duke's continues to roll. Iowa State going to be at 3 still. You look at Iowa State, they got Keyshawn Gilbert, Taven Lipsey. They're 10-1, top 15 in both offense and defense, top 5 in offense. They are just one of the elite teams in the country this year. We knew this coming in. Auburn blows out Purdue. I really thought about moving Auburn up to number 1. I mean, they definitely have the best resume in the country. They're ranked number 1 in KenPom. They, I believe, are the only team ranked top 10 in both offense and defense. Yeah, 1st in offense, 10th in defense. Like I said, so number 1 in KenPom by far. By the way, I mean there's a huge gap between them and Duke in KenPom. Also, best resume in the country. They're 11-1. The problem is I don't want to move them ahead of Tennessee yet. Tennessee is still undefeated. They have a very strong resume as well. That's the difference between them and Florida, Oklahoma, Drake. I mean, none of those guys really have many wins. I mean, Florida and Oklahoma and Drake, I guess, did pick up solid wins this past week, but Tennessee still definitely has by far the better resume of those 4. So at this point, Tennessee undefeated. They are an SEC team, 11-0, 14th in offense, 2nd in defense. It's not like they're far behind. I mean, they're ranked 3rd in KenPom overall. But I will say, if you want to put Auburn at 1, I don't blame you. I said that last week, now even more this week. I mean, it is just very close. I do give the edge to Tennessee, though. They are undefeated. But that is going to do it for the Week 8 Power 40 College Basketball Rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you tune back in, turn on the noties. We're here every Monday with this video. Subscribe if you're new. We got loads of content. College football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, NBA every Thursday, as well as MLB content. If any of that interests you, make sure you subscribe. Trying to hit 200 subscribers here soon. With all that being said, links in the description. As always, X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Make sure you follow those, join those. Make sure you check out the most recent videos popping up on the screen right now. But that is going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys tomorrow with our college football round 1 recap and round 2 predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed this one.